So we're going to be multiplying binomials, which we did at the beginning of the year a little bit, but we will probably need to review it a little bit. So to multiply two polynomials when neither is a monomial like we did the other day, that was just distributing, we multiply each term of one polynomial by each term in the other polynomial. Then we combine like terms. So essentially you distribute each one. So what I like to do is I like to just start at this beginning one, right? We don't, like this time we don't just have one thing times this thing in parentheses. We have two kind of like things in parentheses. And so we need to deal with that. So what I like to do is I like to start with the first term here, this x, and I just make sure it hits each of these. So I need to make sure that x hits the 2x. So x times 2x is 2x squared, right? X times x is x squared. And now I'm also going to make sure it hits that negative 7. So minus 7x. And then this x has hit everything in the other one, so I'm good to move on to the next thing. So this negative 6 now needs to hit two of these. So negative 6 times 2x is going to be negative 12x. And negative 6 times negative 7, negative times a negative is positive. And then 6 times 7 is going to be 42. And now we're not done because notice in the middle here we have two things that both have an x, so we can combine those. Minus 7x minus 12x, negative 7 minus 12 is going to be negative 19x, right? If I have negative 7 of something and I take away 12 more of that something, I should have negative 19 of that something, which is x, and then plus 42. And this will be our end result. And again, what we're doing here is we're basically just doing the multiplication out, expanding, whatever you want to call it. You might have learned FOIL before. That's what this is. Okay. So the same thing with this one. Now we just need to make sure that we're careful with our multiplication. I'm going to start with this first term here, 3x, and I'm going to make sure it hits everything in the other term. So 3x times 2x, 3 times 2 is 6, and x times x is x squared. Now I need to make sure it hits the negative 8. So 3x times minus 8 is going to be minus 24, 3 times 8, and then we have that x here. Okay, now this 3x has hit everything in the other one, so now we move on. This 6 times this 2x is going to be plus 12x, and then this 6 times this negative 8, a positive times a negative is negative 48. It is 48, yes. And then in the middle here, we have negative 24x plus 12x. We can combine those since they both have an x, right? We can't combine this x squared term because it's the only thing that has an x squared, no other x squareds but these two. Negative 24 plus 12 is minus 12x, and then minus 48. All right. Now these ones we have to be very careful with. The instinct is to throw this 2 into here, which we kind of did before, right? Right when we went over our exponent rules, like if I did like 3x to the third squared, we kind of did 3 squared and x cubed squared. But this plus, if there's a plus or a minus, it kind of messes things up, right? And the trick is to just think of what squared actually means. Something squared means something times itself. And then we have this whole thing, 3x plus 6 times itself. So do not just do like 3x squared plus 6 squared. That is wrong. You need to write it out twice. And then we do the same thing. 3x times 3x, 3 times 3 is 9, x times x is x squared. 3x times 6 is going to be 18, and then that x is on there. And then we have 6 times 3x, which is going to be the same thing, right? 6 times 3 is 18, and then that x is on there. And then 6 times 6 is 36. And again, we have some like terms. So we're going to have 9x squared, and then we have 18x plus 18x, which is going to be 36x plus 36. And no, it will not always be the case that these, last two numbers are going to be the same. That is just a coincidence in this one. That's these two, the 18x plus the 18x. Yep, and that's how we got the 36x. Yep, this whole thing. Oh wait, only have like one more to do, so. So, all right, and then I think this is probably the last one. Yeah. So again, we just need to be careful of what squared means. We can't just throw that squared in there. Squared means something times itself, so we have 2x minus 4 times itself, 2x minus 4. Now I'm going to start with this first term, and I'm going to make sure it hits both of the other terms. So 2x times 2x, 2 times 2 is 4, and x times x is x squared. Now I need to do 2x times negative 4. It's going to be negative 8x, because 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, and then the x is on there. Okay, now I've made sure this 2x hits everything over here, so I need to make sure this negative 4 hits everything over here. Negative 4 times 2x is minus 8x. And this negative 4 times negative 4, negative times a negative is positive. Make sure we're being careful with whether we're multiplying a negative or not. Negative times a negative is positive, and then 16. And then, like Trey said earlier, we got like terms. Both of those have an x. So we're going to end up with 4x squared minus 8. Minus 8 again is minus 16x. And we add 16. And again, it's not always going to